Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2020 Cadenza Student and Literary Magazine. This year, we are presenting a sneak peek of this year's magazine, which is filled with an array of wonderful artworks, photographs, writings, and poetry created by our gifted students here on campus. Our staff for this year was me, Amara Bellamy, Kendall Bynes, and Natalie DeBrule on the art as art editors, and as writing editors, we had Ellie Bloom, Selena Brewer, and Sydney Leo. Led by Professor Felice Lopez Bell. Our guest speakers for this evening will be Ryan Davis and Indiana Rotondo. Now for our creative artworks. This first artwork was called Dream Date, created by myself. It's a photograph from my brother's prom. I took this photograph at an old rundown hotel outside. It was pretty gloomy, but the red from the bricks was just right. I decided to do a close-up of her hand on his jacket because of the contrast in colors and the white of his suit and how it matches her nails and her corsage and his tie. I just thought it told a really great story without words. I've been taking photos now since the freshman year of high school, and this photo I took in 2017, which was my senior year, and I feel like it was one of my best photo shoots, so I felt that it needed to be shared here in the magazine. I also like the detail of her scratch right on her hand. It's subtle, but you can tell that she has a story, and it's not a picture perfect photo. It has its flaws.
I'm an artist and I play Dungeons and Dragons. And with that comes a lot of character designs. This is one of them. Her name is Alkaya, and she is a Storm Knight, Amazonia. For each of these characters, I typically go with a theme, or at least a color scheme. With her being a Storm Knight, the colors were going to be yellow as an accent with blues as the main color. And I used a new technique, well, more like a rarely used technique, where I draw a sketch and then I do the basic painting like I would typically do with many layers. Each time I do a new step, new layer, with a lot of backups. So if you mess up one layer, you'll be fine. But as you go on, once you're pretty happy with what you have, you combine all the layers, and that's when you start to render the character in greater detail. So when you first start out, it's just the basic colors, and then you combine all the layers. And that's when things get risky, because from then on, you just have to paint on top of it, on the same layer. And once you get to a point where you're happy with, you just copy that layer and continue on until you make enough changes, so on and so forth. It's kind of like saving without actually saving. It's a longer process than what I typically do, which would be sketch, second sketch, line art, flat color, shadows, and then highlights. This way, it kind of goes all together. You get your basic highlights and shadows, you combine it, and then from then on, it's just painting, like you would acrylic or any other sort of painting. But in this case, digital. With this comes hours and hours and hours of just stroke after stroke. You don't like a color? Well, you just gotta have to paint over that. If you mess it up too badly, just delete that layer and you're gonna have to go back many steps. So it's a lot riskier, but I think in the end it comes out with a lot more of a detailed and cleaner looking illustration, which is why I did it. And I picked this character specifically because it's the one where I used this technique on, as well as it's one of my favorites so far. She's the most She has the most personality of all my characters, and it's more visibly personable. So, this is my character illustration, and thank you for listening.
Next, we have our creative writers.
My name is Kendall Andreas Barnes. I'm a senior here at Mars Hill with a major in graphic design. My poem Son of Houdini is a piece based off of another work by the same name. It's kind of a sensitive topic, but I wrote it about my father and our non-existent relationship. When I wrote this, the first thing that came to mind was Harry Houdini, the famous escape artist. This piece is more of a slam poem that I translated into a regular poem. As far as my writing process goes, it's pretty simple. I write based on experience and emotion. If I go through something, be it happy or sad, and it leaves a lasting impact on me, it'll probably turn into a poem or a song. As far as the style and actual writing goes, I like to see how many rhymes I can fit into a line, so there's a lot of rhythm, alliteration, and near rhymes in my work. I prioritize flow and message over anything, and I feel like if you don't have anything to say or bring attention to, you shouldn't really be talking just to hear yourself talk. So this piece is titled Nazir, after my cousin. I use Clip Studio Paint, which is kind of like Adobe Illustrator. This piece was actually a birthday present for him. I knew his birthday was coming up, and me being a broken, starving artist, I decided to draw him a new profile picture. It took me about an hour and a half to draw, and I started by taking the photo. I worked with the original photo and got the lighting and everything perfect, and then I copied it into Clip Studio. After that, I traced the image and played with some backgrounds before I eventually settled on a white background with pulsating outline and different colored horizon lines.
Thank you, Kendall.
Hi, my name is Ryan Davis, and I'm a senior at Mars Hill University. My submission was a poem, and what inspired me to write the poem was the passing of my grandma. When she passed, I was really sad, so I had to find a way to come to terms with what happened, and this poem helped me do that. So for my writing process, I tried to capture the emotions I was feeling at the moment, and if I couldn't really get back into that mental state of being sad, I listen to sad music to get me there, because sometimes that helps. Or I would isolate myself into a room with like blank walls so I could visualize what I really want to see and the words I want to write. And sometimes I could just sit down and knock it out, like going for like 30 minutes or so. But other times, something just randomly pops up, like mid-conversation or during class, or if I'm asleep, I'll dream about a line and I have to wake up and I have to write it down real quick. But there's nothing real or concrete about my writing process. It varies from time to time depending on what I'm writing about. Hi.
What's going on, y'all? My name is Indiana Rotundo. I'm a junior, and the poem I'm going to read to you guys today is called Gigi. The process that went into writing this poem, someone very close to me suffers severely from mental illness, and on the plane ride back from Toronto during Christmas break, I just started writing and it kind of wrote itself. So yeah, that's really it. Life moves too fast. The force of it flows like a tide, dissipating into itself. Keep those that need you close. Don't run from them when they depend on you. I ran. I couldn't take the anguish. It killed me slowly, but I knew I could never understand your pain. I wish I could take it and smash it to pieces. I hate entities that hurt the ones I love, but often our mind is our greatest foe, and understanding takes time, but I think I've done it. We as people run out of tolerance, and deliverance seems impossible, but I don't care anymore. I'll kill parts of myself if it means you live longer. I refuse to run. I'm here, and I always will be.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our presentation today. If you would like to submit to our cadenza for next year, the email will be listed here on this slide. Also, if you have any questions about the cadenza or how to get your own copy, please email the same email address here on the slide. Thank you. Have a great day.